Hi everyone, welcome back to the cottage. I know it's been a while and I want to share an update of my summer so far and also check in with all of you. If you've been wondering what I've been up to the last couple of months, these next clips of me outdoors pretty much is my answer. Because here in Minnesota, we have just such very little precious time to work on our yards. And so we tend to take full advantage from the months of June through September. And here at the cottage, we have a few acres that literally have never been touched by a human hand for probably over 100 years. So a whole lot of effort needs to be put forth. And we understood that when we purchased the property, and we actually enjoy that slow and steady approach that we've been taking to craft this little oasis of our own. But I will have more on that whole process later. First though, I want to rewind a little bit and just say thank you for all of the kind words and messages that you all sent to me on my last video in the comments when I was announcing a break and some channel changes here. And my intention was to use this time that I've had off to really reset my mind and to take in all of the exciting things that were going on in my own life. And you were all just so encouraging and loving toward me for taking that step back, and I really appreciate that more than you know. So as you know, our oldest son graduated at the end of May, and it was a really exciting time for him, a step into adulthood really, but it was also very hard on my mama heart. Literally, a few days later, after graduation, we packed up all of his belongings and we moved him into his college apartment. I'm not sure if I've ever really mentioned it or not, but he is going to be playing football at the University of Minnesota, and so he had to get there early to start practice. So it was kind of jarring how quickly that all happened. He was allowed to move back home for about a week so he could finish up his high school track season, and he and our middle son, they both competed at the state track meet. My husband and I are both super proud of them and their hardworking attitudes, which paid off with a couple of podium finishes, state championships, and also the boys team, they placed second overall, and so that was really a very exciting time. And shortly after state track, we then had to say goodbye again to our oldest, and even though I'm not typically a crier, I did cry, and I have been crying every single time we say goodbye to him. I know that at some point that's going to get easier, but I'm still working through all of those emotions for now. So we busied ourselves with yard work, and the first project on our list was to level a larger area for our above ground pool. So just let me tell you, I think that as part of pre-marriage counseling, every couple should be required to do this. Leveling a pool is stressful, it's frustrating, and it really teaches a person patience and how to work together. So it was kind of a nightmare if I'm being honest, but our girls, they love swimming, and I would rather have a small pool that they can go in every single day, the comfort of their own backyard, rather than having to drive them to a nearby beach, a lake, or a swimming pool. It's just the convenience of all of that. And so that's what kind of kept us going, even though it was a very, very draining process. We persisted, we got it done, everything besides the landscaping around it, which we're kind of working on to help it blend the pool in a little bit more. And that brings me back to what I was saying at the beginning of this video. Building a house into a hillside, it definitely has its challenges, but I think that it can also be a benefit if the land is sculpted in the correct way. And I drew up some sketches, and I have this plan in mind of how I want the overall area to look. Essentially, we're going to be creating some terraces and walkways with a lot of beautiful perennial bushes and flowers, little zones of flat ground for various purposes, like a spot for a picnic table, grilling area, a fire pit, eventually a patio with some furniture. And nobody else can really see my vision just yet, but trust me, it will come together eventually over a period of probably many, many years. Inside the cottage, things are pretty much the same way that I left them in my last videos. Of course, I did a little rearranging of furniture. You wouldn't expect anything less from me, right? The stars of the show this season for decor are florals and fruit, and I just love that a simple basket of oranges can be so beautiful. It can be used as a decoration. I've also been finding time to do some reading, fiction books, as well as some garden, landscaping inspiration. And it's interesting because when I'm working outside and hauling dirt and raking things, I like to listen to audiobooks, and I tend to gravitate more toward the self-help and the inspirational titles. I just finished the book Do It Scared by Ruth Soukup, and I'm currently listening to The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. Both are very good if you're looking for something like that. But when it comes to a book that I hold in my hands, I'm all about the fiction, the mystery thriller. I've gotten into a really good routine with my sourdough now, and it's really crazy to me that I've had this starter for over a year already. I don't bake things with it every day, so I do keep mine in the fridge, and I developed a simple system that kind of streamlines this process for me. And maybe at some point I'll do a video about how I work it. I don't do any discarding, so it's kind of a unique approach, I think, but I don't like anything in life to be overly complicated, which is why I kind of tweaked the routine with my sourdough to get it just right. And that also brings me to another update. You might notice in these clips that my hair looks a little bit different. Well, I was finding that my hair care routine was getting to be a little bit complicated as well. For years and years, I had been using a curling iron on it every single morning to straighten out any of the weird kinks and the frizziness, and I would blow dry my hair and I would just try to get it to lay flat. But as the heat and humidity of this summer, and it's been extremely hot and humid, as that came into full bloom, I decided that I couldn't keep fighting this battle of the frizz. And so I let it dry naturally for once, and to my surprise, I had a lot more wave than I expected. So it has been wonderful to wake up in the morning, spray my hair with a little bit of water and moisturizer, and just go about my day. It's kind of liberating in a weird way. Let's move on to the garden. How about an update on that? Well, one thing I know for sure, I have never seen so much crabgrass in my entire life. I'm not sure what the deal is, but that stuff just exploded in my garden this year. I have read that laying down some cardboard and then topping with mulch, that's supposed to be helpful, especially for pathways in the garden where you're not going to be planting things. And so I do intend to tackle that at some point later on in the summer, maybe in the fall. The plants in the garden are doing okay. They kind of got off to a slow start since the early summer was very rainy and cloudy. And just when things started to produce, I was starting to get tomatoes, I was starting to get peas, I made the mistake of forgetting to close the garden gate. And our little friendly neighborhood deer decided that was some sort of invitation for them to come in for a free buffet meal, and they chopped the tops off of a few of my tomato plants. They mowed down some of my peas. They left the peppers alone. I guess they don't like the taste of those, but thankfully not everything was damaged. It could have been worse. Things are starting to recover, but it was still just such a major bummer. I also wanted to mention in this video that I am still going strong with one of my New Year's resolutions and goals for 2025, which was to take some time to type out Bible verses every day. So I have tried reading all the way through the Bible in the past, but for me personally, there's some sort of deeper understanding that I get from typing things out. I've always been like that. Even in school, I would type up my notes as a way to really help me memorize and just digest everything that I was learning. So I'm happy to report that I am now in the book of Samuel, and I have learned so much. The website that I used is called esv.org, and I like that it has this little split screen with the verses on the left side where you can read it, and then a notes section on the right where you can type out the verses. I know that the area for notes is intended more for personal contemplations or thoughts, but this system is working really well for me, and I just wanted to let you guys know about it if any of you want to try to do something similar. I don't have any hard or fast goals of needing to complete up to a certain book in the Bible in this year, in 2025, but just having that consistency of typing a little bit each day. And usually for me, that's just a chapter or two. It maybe takes me 10-15 minutes, but it's a good habit that I'm really happy that I started. Let's see, what other updates do I have for you? No, we didn't finish the garage project yet. That's probably going to be pushed back more into the fall. I have been getting prepared for another year of homeschooling the girls, getting resources collected, figuring out our schedule. I think overall it's just been a lot of regular day-to-day life that's gone on. There has been a couple of exciting things. One of our kids got their driver's license in the early part of summer last week. One kid got their braces off their teeth, another had a consultation to get their braces put on. So I guess my closing thoughts for today are that it has been really nice to just take the time to slow down, enjoy the milestones and the mundane. And there's just so much life happening all around us all the time. And I just want to encourage you that if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to take a step back and reevaluate. I really like this freedom that I have now of not having the pressure of getting a video out each and every week. It feels more natural, and honestly, it's more enjoyable for me to pick up the camera when I want to and to be inspired in that way. And yeah, I guess that I am going to continue to work on this channel in that way. You'll hear from me every so often, and I'd love to also hear from you and catch up in the comments. I have definitely missed that for sure. I know I lost quite a few followers when I made my announcement, and that's okay. It just means that those of you who are still here, you really want to be here, and I'm happy that you are. I hope that all of you are having a wonderful, relaxing summer, and thanks so much for hanging out with me today.